Yes.
الحين اللاست كويز اللي كان المفروض from اللي عليه 9 درجات اللي هو آخر meeting. دكتور شيخان said إنه he's until now he didn't give us a specific date on which will be our exam or our quiz to be more precise.
The last quiz, you mean?
Yes. Because next week is going
to the date and also he announced this on LMS. I've seen the post.
And last thing we saw that it got postponed only, but there is no specific date on which gonna be our makeup quiz.
Okay, so you mean the makeup quiz, not
the makeup exam. لا آخر كويز اللي عليه 9 درجات.
آخر كويز اللي كان I think 9 question or 6 question.
اي الى الان الدكتور قال انه راح اجله لنا، ولا الان ما اعطانا التاريخ متى راح يكون.
He will announce it. He will post يعني information about it on LMS. Don't worry.
اي بس لانه الفاينلز الشهر الجاي، وفي ميك اب كويزز وفي الفاينل اكزامز حقت الاي ال والاي ار، فبس عشان يكون عندنا خلفيه متى راح تكون عشان نعمل حسابنا للتي
يعني انتم ما امتحنتوا الاوفيشال كويز لاست كويز؟
لا للان لسه.
هو لكن قال حط اللينك I think كل حاجة كل information عنه. make me double check. I will make sure revise the information later when we finish the session. Okay.
Okay.
Because I think I've seen the information. So I will review the information regarding the last quiz. I think Mr. Sheikhan already posted the information about it. But just to make sure, I will revise it later. Yani when we finish, inshallah, I will check on LMS and I've seen, I will check his post. The one I've seen it. I think also he sent an email regarding it. So now I'm confusing. Yani.
Doctor, he hasn't sent anything or said anything on LMS.
دكتور دابي فتحت ال LMS ما في إشي على LMS وما في إشي على Gmail.
Okay, I will check the information. Maybe it's hidden from the student. Maybe I just saw the information myself. I will check it later, inshallah.
Okay, please. Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome. Okay, so let us start with today's session. As I said, we will speak about biometrics. Biometrics is the unique features by humans, and government use this one, use the biometrics information to identify the people. So it's regard authenticate citizens' identity, make sure the one who claim he is the one is really the one. Some of the documents for authentication is passport, the ID, governmental ID, the driving license. Any document has your picture on it with your information labeled there, like your date of birth, like your ID number. So all this information is unique only for the person, and we can identify our identity with this information. So biometric data is actually derived from bodily features. For us as a human, we have the fingerprints, we have our features, our faces, photographs. Also, there is the iris recognition, which is used the eye to distinguish between people, because each eye, it has its unique patterns, the dimension of the eye, the color, the drawing in the eye. And also the DNA is used also to distinguish people, especially in a criminal investigation. Biometric data covers data derived from characteristics, behavior also, which is the movement, the voice pattern, our signature, all these features used to distinguish people. How we can convert this biometric data to digital form is actually called digital biometric data. It's stored in a database which has all our information, like our names, our addresses, and other information like our relatives, where we work, and they use it now in digital devices like phones, like laptops, to easy access our accounts. Where to use biometric data, passport, driving license, other identity documents. Digital biometric data is stored on a chip embedded in these documents, so for easy distinguishing the people. With biometric data in digital form, comparisons of data becomes mathematical operation. So it's actually storing of information has some mathematical operations that can be stored in the computer, rather than asking someone to ensure that someone is the one from his pictures or from his documents. This is distinct change from older methods for identification, which require someone to look on your face to make sure the passport is relative to you, which is actually a human inspection. For an identification system based on data comparison to work, it has some of calculation to make sure there is no error on identify someone. So there is authoritative samples of data which has our information, distinguish each individual person, and it's compared to bank of fingerprints held by police, or bank of face recognition data. This is symbol of identification. This is the first picture here is the iris scan, which is regard the eye. Each one has the color, different pattern in the eye, around the eye, and also the circle around the eye, the dimension of it. Comparison of biometric data is actually like if you coming through the airport, they let you have the pictures in the airport to make sure your picture is stored in the system to allow you to enter the country or not, and also the fingerprint, which is from the finger. There is some advantage and disadvantage of having identification using biometric data. Some of the advantage that each one is unique from the other, has his own biometric data, whereas non-biometric data sometimes cannot be guaranteed to be unique. It's difficult to fake the information, the biometric data, so it will become harder to steal than non-biometric data. The disadvantage of the biometric data that the difficulty of restoring security once it has been breached. So if someone has access to the database and have made some change there, so it will become difficult to restore the information. You can't replace your fingerprint if it's copied, whereas you can change your password if it's copied. So it's harder to steal the biometric. Two samples of data from the same person are hardly ever identical, and you can find this especially when you try to use sometimes your finger to open your laptops and it's still you, it is not you. So the same things that some signatures might be different from the same person. Components of identification system is authentic data known to be associated uniquely with a particular individual, reliable method for comparing pieces of data. Also, there is identification systems. There are two schemas for the identification system. One of them is the iris recognition system. We will see two schema. One of them used in Heathrow Airport in UK. They use the iris recognition to identify people who are allowed to enter the country have a valid visa. So here, the biometric data required is actually stored in a template. They usually require the fingerprint and also the face sample. So the information there is stored in a template in a database of enrolled user. Then the template is not a digital photograph of the eye, but a digital representation of data from the iris scan. So it is not a photograph of the eye, but it's actually for the information of the eye, the iris scan. Like the eye color, like the separation of eye, like the diameter of iris are recorded in a file. Usually the file size is around 256 bytes, so it is not that big. Enrollment in the Heathrow scheme involved taking a scan from the applicant who applied to enter the country, and then they enter the information in a database. Then there is also checking of the information. If he arrived to the airport, then his eye will be scanned and try to find a match in the database. So there are some cases that might face the person. Why might the applicant's scan have matched a template already in the database that the person, sometimes the person, when he tried to enter his information, applied for a new entrance, maybe his information already stored in the database. So it will inform him that you already exist in the database. Or maybe his information was very similar to someone else already stored in the database. So this might be the two cases that we might have a match in information on the database. In the United Arab Emirates, there is the opposite case of Heathrow Airport, where they have all the information, but for the people who are not allowed to enter the country. In Heathrow, it's a database for the people who are allowed to enter the country, whereas in United Arab Emirates, it's the opposite. They store the information for the people who have some criminal history. For example, the stealer or some thefts, some criminals. So they store their information inside the database, and then when they try to enter the country, they prevent them to enter. So this difference is sometimes expressed in terms of positive identification or negative identification. Positive identification is actually when when someone tried to enter and his information was already stored in the database. So to make sure that someone is inside a set of people. Negative identification is to make sure that someone is not a member of a set of people. So it's the opposite. There is a problem of positive identification and negative identification because sometimes one person biometric data would never be mistaken for another. It's rarely to find someone, you will not have a match with someone else in your information. And one person biometric data would always match another sample from the same person. Such perfection cannot be achieved in practice, that to make sure only unique people will have their information stored there. So we have some level of certainty of similarity rather than exact sameness. So we can have measure of the percentage of similarity between someone and his picture, or the opposite. Is the information of the person stored in the information in the database or not? This leads us to the concept of false match and positive match. False match is when two pieces of biometric data from different people are judged to be from the same person. So different people on the database, but the system retrieve they are the same. This called false accept. It results from comparison that is too tolerant of different. So if we have a system that allow for a high percentage of similarities, then it can lead to false match. It can say that someone in the system, but he is actually not there. A false non-match is when two pieces of biometric data from the same person judged to be from different people. So here is the opposite. We have the same information for the person stored, but the system say they are not the same. So this is called false reject. It results from a comparison that is too tolerant of difference. This is when the system will not allow many changes in the information between the real person and his information in the system. So here we have some type of error will be increased by relaxing match criterion, as this means making the matching process more tolerant of difference. This will increase the likelihood that the biometric data from different people will be judged to be from the same person. So this will allow us to say that different people, they are the same person. Which type of error is increased by making the matching criterion stricter and why? As from the description before, this case, we will have the information of a person stored, but the system will say, no, they are different. So here in false non-match, making the matching criterion stricter means that the comparison is less tolerant of difference, will not allow many changes in the information. So this means we are more likely to decide that samples of data from the same person are from different people. So in this case, he will not be allowed to enter the country, or he might be listed in a criminal list. In Heathrow schema, a false match could mean that a person who was not enrolled might be allowed through. In United Arab Emirates schema, false non-match might mean that a person who should be stopped is allowed through. These are examples of identification error. The performance of biometric system is measured by various statistics. So we need here some statistics to help us identifying people. One of them is called the false match rate. False match rate is actually expressed statistically like 1 in 1,000. Like one case might be happen among 1,000 cases. To say that a system has a false match rate of 1 in 1,000 means that if a sample of biometric data is compared with random selection of other data, then there is a probability of a false match occurs on average once every 1,000 comparisons. A false match rate for single fingerprints can be around 1 in 1,000, in 1 in 100,000. This is in case of fingerprints. For face recognition, it's around 1 in 1,000. Single eye iris recognition have a false match in a rate of 1 to 1 million. So these rates do not allow you to predict how many false matches there will be in any single small scale test. With a large group, the result become more predictable. So if we have large group, this means we can predict how many false match we can have, rather than if we have the experiment only on small group. If the false match rate of a particular biometric system is 1 in 100, and we have a sample of data is compared against 1 million other randomly chosen piece of data, how many false match can we expect? In this case, you have here unknown variable, which is we express it here with X. If we have one case among 100 case, how many expected as entry that will result in 1 million case? So we have X here is unknown. We can do the multiplication between the two ends. So we can have X multiply in 100 and 1 multiply in 1 million. This will give us 100x equal 1 million. Then we leave x on one side and divide the 1 million by the 100. So x will become equal to 1 million divided by 100, and this will give us 10,000. So 10,000 false match are expected. If a system has a false match rate of 1 in 1,000 when used on a database of 1,000 or bigger, it's virtually certain that there will be a false positive identification with someone in the database, because we have the case here 1 in 1,000, and we have our range is, our set is 1,000 people. So at least we will have one person from that set have a false match. The false positive identification rate in this case approach 100%, which is equal to 1 in 1 because of the large size of the database. A false positive identification rate of 100 means that every time a sample is checked against an entire database, there is at least one false match somewhere in the comparison. It is possible for a piece of biometric data to falsely match more than one template in the database. It's also possible for a piece of biometric data to correctly match one template and to falsely match one or more other templates. So this can happen in one if we have the set of 1,000. False positive identification arises from a false match with a template belong to someone enrolled in the database. This is what we have said. So we have the picture of someone, and the system said there is someone already have the same information in the picture, even if he is not the same. This is called false positive identification. False negative identification, when the system already stored the information of someone, but the system said they are different, like the pictures here. This is called false negative identification. Verification. Verification is confirmation that the person is who they claim to be. So it's one-to-one comparison about his information, like using the identity card, the passport, the driving license. Identification is confirming that the person is authorized or not, one-to-many comparison. This is by inserting his information from his identity card. Now we will move into the meaning of usability and accessibility. If you already had studied something of IT subject, highlighted the meaning of usability and accessibility. So in simple words, usability, making the system easy to be used. Accessibility, making the system available to all different cases of people. So regardless their easiness or difficulties to use the system, you make it accessible to them, like if they have some disability. Usability list of a principle, it's applied to all types of computer interface, regard the interface, regard starting the system, different application like the word processor, the calculator, not only using the web. Visibility of system status, always keep user informed about what is going on the system. Are they downloading the website? Are they copying the information? So through providing appropriate feedback within reasonable time. So if the user has entered some of the commands on the program should give him a feedback and inform him about in which stage the information processed now. Match between system and the real world. Try to speak the user's language, use his own words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user. Try to follow the structure of different applications. Don't change the meaning of the user. Try to think of the human, of the user, not of the system-oriented terms. User control and freedom. Allow the user to escape from one of the commands, to cancel one of the command. If an error happen, allow the user to avoid the mistake again. Not to store the information if there is some missing information, required information. So allow the user to easily escape from places they unexpectedly find themselves by using a clearly marked emergency exit. So allow the user to roll back from what's caused the problem or the error. Consistency and the standards is actually avoid making the user wonder whether different words, situation, or action mean the same things. If it's already cut, then don't change the word. If it's already copied, don't change the word to something else. Try to be constant what the user already familiar with. Help user recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Use plain language to describe the nature of the problem and suggest a way of solving it. Give him a suggestion about how to solve a problem. Error prevention, try to not allow any error in the system and ask the user to enter the information again, for example. So where possible, try to prevent occurring of error from the first place. Recognition rather than recall, try to make objects, action, and option visible, not hidden. So try to make use of all the available and visible area of the user. Aesthetic and minimalist design, avoid using information that is irrelevant or rarely needed. This case, try to hide the unnecessary information. Always provide some help and documentation to the user about how to use the system, why he needs to fill in this information. If you want the user to enter some password, give him a hint about the length and the combination of the allowed character to help him to easily understand what he have to do. Accessibility is related to how well a service is adapted to the diverse abilities of all potential users. Potential users have some people who already have IT experience, some people who are already naive in using the IT, some people might have some difficulties in reading, in seeing different colors, and listening, and using the keyboard. So your system or your program should be accessible to all potential users, regard the age, regard the abilities, regard the difficulties. Some users need to be able to adjust font size, screen resolution, and so on. Other user might find particular combination of foreground and background color make it hard for them to read the text. Some users have the screen reader to allow them to read what's there on the screen. Other users have a speech-driven web browser that enable them to give commands by voice using their microphone. Screen reader and speech-driven web browser are examples of adaptive technology or assistive technologies, and it's already one of the accessible techniques that already adapted on different technologies like in phones, laptops, using web pages, web applications. So we start to see all these different accessibility technologies. Now we will move into online communication, which is very easy subject. We will look about how people communicate with each other using the internet and particularly the web. We will look at some online communication tools, including those that you will probably have used for your studies, discussion forums, web conference, emails. We will have some information about the different social networking sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We will investigate the benefits of communicating via the web, like the ability to share resources, ideas, texting, develop a community online. We also consider some of the issues raised by online communication, which is mainly the privacy and security of the user. So one way of categorizing online communication is regard to think about the time of writing your message. One characteristic is the asynchronous, independent of time, or synchronous, real time. Asynchronous communication is when a message is sent and received at different times. So you send a message, but the receiver of your message can see it in his own time, not at the same time of sending the message. One example of this communication is form. Form is an example of asynchronous communication, which is not followed by time. So the message there can be seen on different times. The reply might be delayed from the time of sending the message. So the response will not be immediate. The opposite one is the synchronous communication, and it's actually happen in real time. All parties of the communication online at the time of sending the message, and the response of the message will be instant at the same time of sending the message. Like if we have face-to-face communication, like if we have a telephone call, so the speaker, the caller, and the receiver of the call have a communication at the same time. This is called asynchronous communication. If I was in a room with you and started a conversation, you would hear what I had to say straight away, and you would be able to answer straight away. Similarly, if I phoned you and you answered the phone, the conversation would be synchronous. Here in figure 1, we have someone writing a letter. He will send the message. He will send his letter, but the receiver, when he get the message, he will reply to the message. So it is not asynchronous communication. Where in the figure 2, we have synchronous communication. We have two people standing in front of each other and have a conversation, speaking face to face. So it is synchronous communication. Sometimes the distinction between asynchronous and synchronous communication is blurred because it's actually about how we use the service. For example, if your phone is off and you write a text message, you send it to someone whose phone is off, he will not receive it at the time of sending, but when he opens his phone. So in this case, it will become asynchronous communication. But if he was on and you send the message, he will read the message at the time he checked his phone, he will reply you, then it will become synchronous communication. So it's actually, you cannot separate it exactly between, is it asynchronous or synchronous communication? Asynchronous communication tool type, one of them is email. Is an asynchronous tool that is most often used for one-to-one communication. You send an email to a specific one. You have an email system. You create a mailing list. You can send one email to many people. For example, your tutor can create a mailing list, then that contains email address for all the members of your tutor group. So we can send one message to many people at the same time, rather than typing email to each one. Discussion form is alternative to a mailing list. You post a topic there. It's a discussion form. You have a topic, then you enter in the discussion form, you will post your topic. For example, in web forms, you can type something regarding the internet or any subject related to the internet. People who are interested on the form, they will subscribe to the form and they will reply to you. So there are different forms of different types of form on the web. Some for the people who are interested in IT, some of the people who are interested in art. So it's actually regard what is your interest, then you will have different forms based on different topics. Blogs, somewhat different form of a group communication is a blog. Blogs allow people to share their thoughts via the web. The difference here, you have some limitation on how many words you can type there. And usually blogs have the post sorted in a diary format. So you will find the new post on the top and the old post on the bottom, like also Facebook, like Twitter. So you will find the new tweets on the top, but the bottom have the old post. Many blogs allow readers to add comments to the post. So here you will have some people subscribe to your page, like for example, on Instagram. They can reply and comment in your post. They can make some engagement with your post, like, dislike. YouTube is an example also. They can write a comment to you. They can communicate with you for more information about what you have posted. So this is about blog. Group communication. We have looked at different ways in which groups of people can communicate with each other asynchronously. These are mailing list, forms, and the blogs. Networks allow you to interact with people whom you may never meet. So this is advantage and disadvantage. For example, using forms, you can make contact with other students whom you may not have met face-to-face. And this will arise a debate about the benefits and disadvantage of online versus face-to-face communication, as many people have themselves isolated from the real world if they have only online communication. In recent years, the web has developed into an interactive and social spaces, as well as a place to find and share resources. For example, in YouTube, people there can share videos, they can create their own channels, they can record their own videos and publish it there. And Pinterest, they can pin different pictures which represent their interest. And people there can also post it on their own page. Photographs can be geotagged. Geotag means you can mention the location of your pictures and the time also. So you can mention where taken this photo, and one example of image sharing is a Flickr. You can tag there the information regarding your pictures about, for example, the location, who take the pictures, and this enables the people, especially who are interested, for example, in tourists, to look on the place before they go from the people's pictures. This mixing of different sets of data is sometimes called a mashup. Many web services provide tools to help bring together different kinds of data like photos, videos, sounds, texting, comments. These tools can be used to aggregate and manipulate data in order to present it in different ways. So you can look for pictures in a place on Flickr, then on YouTube you can find a video for a person who already recorded and visited that place. Also, we have wikis. Wikis come from Wikipedia, and it's launched in 2001. Well-known example of wiki, which is actually a place to ask a question and someone will reply to you, give you answer to your question. It's an online service that allows multiple users to create and edit content in web pages, which is the Wikipedia. And anyone can edit the page there. So if you have some information regarding one of the subjects there, you can contribute to build the Wikipedia. So anyone can edit the Wikipedia, though users are encouraged to create Wikipedia account for free to do so. And this leads us also to the authentication of the information posted there. Is it real information or not? So try not to use Wikipedia as a reference if you have some work to do, as you don't know who's posted that information. But if he already informed you about his resources from where he get the information he posted in this subject in Wikipedia, then you can use the same reference there to look about the information. The name Wiki comes from Wiki shuttle bus at Honolulu International Airport, which is shown in figure 3. Wiki means quick in the Hawaiian language, and Wiki implies very quickly, as you can ask any question there and you can get an answer. Idea behind social networking site, social media are not new. Since the early days of the internet, it was possible to have social networking and allow the user to communicate with each other, sharing messages, sharing files. So by inventing the internet, people become easy to communicate with each other through using the online forms, and they were able to share different types of informations like photos, videos, sounds. Defining characteristics of social networking site is the ability to construct a list of contact or friends. So you have to make your own list of friends who are users of the same system. If you are on Facebook, then you have to allow people to become your friends. If it's Instagram or Twitter, they have to follow you on your account to see your updates. For a user to become a friend requires confirmation from both parties. There are also one-directional ties in which one person is a follower or fan of the other. So sometimes you don't need to be a friend with someone to see his post. All you need is just to follow him. Some of social networking is Facebook, LinkedIn, which is focused on job, career-related purpose. And it allows us to build his network by following people who have the same interest or graduated from the same place. And it also helps to keep people up to date with development and opportunities in their sectors. We have Twitter. Twitter is one of the most popular social networking sites, founded in 2006. Its original aim was to enable users to keep in touch with their friends and family. The idea proved popular and Twitter became widely used by different sector of peoples. The difference between Twitter and other online communication is the short updates. They focus on short updates, which is called tweets. It's allowed only for limited number of characters, around 140 characters, for the length of the message. Twitter operates by user following other users in order to receive their updates as part of a stream of posting. The term Twitter stream is used to describe the way that the short message continue to flow. So you can see there a Twitter regard one of the popular subjects in the community. So which is, you can also comment about one of these topics. You can choose to dip into the stream at any time, either just reading the message or adding a message yourself. You can use their hashtag to keep track of some of the popular subject that has been discussed. For example, if we have on the account Open Universities under the hashtag OU ceremonies, you can see information there regarding the graduation ceremonies, what people say there. So the symbol hash is known as a hash symbol, and all hashtags must start with this so that they can be easily found. And also you can search by using the hashtag. Hashtags that are being regularly tweeted also tend to appear in the trends topic that can be viewed via Twitter. So there is also a trend which have the popular discussion topics on Twitter. Some users of social networking sites disclose sensitive personal information about themselves on their profiles. This leads us to some of the problems like the identity theft. Identity theft, people might steal your information like your name, your age, your date of birth, your place of birth, and might create accounts for themselves using your own information for criminal usage, like stealing from your friends, or having some words, abusing someone online using your own words. So once a criminal gains control of a person's social networking account, they can use the information for fraudulent purpose. Another issue is the user accepting people they don't know actually as a friend, or contacting people offline whom they don't know well. And there was a hacker trying to access the WhatsApp account in the last few months. They log into your account in Facebook, on WhatsApp, contacting the people you have in your phone, claiming he is your friend and asking you for money, for help. And as WhatsApp is a private number for people, they believe that the person who sent them the message is actually their friend. So they start to send money to him, but he is actually a hacker. This is particularly problematic given that there is no means of verifying that people are who they say they are. This is a particular issue for young people, so you have to be aware about who's contacting you, especially on online services, because it's easier to steal anyone's account. You might log in to your account using one of the public PCs, and you just forget to log out from the system, and someone come after you and he found your account open and he used your name. Very easy. So you have to be aware about how to secure yourself to not to be stolen on online services. There are also reports of cyberbullying and trolling through social networking site, which is actually, you might find some people abusing you on online services or online social networking. Here, synchronous technologies have the benefit of enabling users to give or receive an immediate response. Synchronous communication is sometimes based on text only rather than voice or video. Perhaps the simplest example is text messaging via mobile phones. When you are using the internet instead, you can interact with other people in real time using a chat tool. If you use instant messaging, IM, then you can also see when your contact are online. So one advantage of this, that you can see your friend who is online, who is offline, what was their last access to the application. Like the messenger in the old days, like Facebook Messenger. Bear in mind that the boundaries between different online communication tools are fuzzy. Different types of tool can evolve and merge their functionality over time. So we have the text chat. Text chat, typing messages between parties in real time. Each person will contribute and appear on the other person's contact list. Any one of the communication parties can type a message and press on enter, then the other party will receive the message. Instant messaging on real-time text-based communication is instant messaging. The main benefit of IM software over the chat tools is that it will tell you when people are connected and available, whereas on chat tools, they can log out without informing you that they are left the room. Example of IM system is actually Facebook Messenger and IM facilities in Skype for business, for example, Skype program. For video and web conference, if you try to make a video call or try to contact with more than one person through web conference, then the bandwidth availability, it has to be high. Video communication has become more popular for leisure learning and work. For example, you might make Skype video conference or FaceTime on your iPhone or Facebook Live facilities for streaming real-time video. These applications run on desktop or mobile devices, so it's easier to have access to these services from different places and different times. And this will make it available to be accessed to everyone. Desktop synchronous is communication tools that use a combination of voice, video, and other shared facilities called web conference system, like Skype, which allow you to share videos, files, different files, pictures, audio, or screen, for example, your PC screen. There are some technologies aspects of video conferencing. It's quite complex. Major principle is to achieve is high quality of video. So you want high quality of video streaming. You want to hear the audio clearly without cutting in the voice. You want to see the pictures and the video of the other parties clearly without pixels on their faces. So we have some limitation on bandwidth. A video conference system connect two or more endpoints. So two or more endpoints, it make video conference. We need some advanced hardware devices like PC or smartphones. We need devices, we need also a software on each parties to make the video conference like Skype or Facebook or FaceTime application. The video data from each endpoint consists of frames, a certain resolution at regular time intervals. So the frames will be posted and streamed one after another between the two parties. The frames will have also another information like the color, intensity of each pixel. Pre-processing software will remove the unnecessary information. The one is not important for the pictures in order to reduce the bandwidth requirement. This is type of loosey comparison that removing some of unimportant information. If we use the desktop video conference, then the frame rate will be higher, around 15 frames per second. In contrast, a standalone video conference system, which requires specialized equipment in a specific room, might be 30 frames per second. Technologies aspect of video conference also contain the endpoints negotiate a data rate. So there will be a data rate. If you are the caller, you are the sender, and the connection in your side is lower than the receiver side, then you will not have a high quality contact, high quality communication. And the low data rate will be demonstrated on the communication. If a higher rate is possible, this allows for high quality video. An example, if you are using a Skype to one video call, it's required around 500 kilobit per second in each direction to make a good quality communication. As well as the available bandwidth affecting the quality of the communication, there is also the issue of the delay in the communication. So you might see the picture and later you can find the voice coming through, or you might have the pictures in pixels. If there is a significant delay or lag, more than 150 milliseconds between sending and receiving the audio or video, the communication system becomes difficult and frustrating to use. So you will feel it's disappointed to make the communication. Telepresence, the network company Cisco developed a suite of high-performance video conference system called Telepresence, which is in figure 4. Telepresence is a system provide feature life-size, high-resolution video together with high-quality audio. So you will feel that the person whom you are communicating with is actually in front of you, like if you're having face-to-face meeting. So in summary, today we have looked about different topics. We have looked about the biometric data. We have looked about the online communication. We have looked about some problem of using the online communication. We have seen the difference between communication, the synchronous and asynchronous communication, which is regard the time. Also, we have seen about the quality of video communication. That's it for today. It is very easy. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have finished the TM111. So the only one left for you is actually, as you said, the quiz, the last quiz, and also marking your TMA, giving you the grades, and also your final quiz. I will check now your, so give me a few minutes. I will check the post regarding the quiz and come back to you.
دكتورة متى راح تنزل درجات TMA؟
TMA باقي طبعا في لحد يوم 26 نوفمبر. مسموح التسليم المتأخر، بس طبعا انتوا لا تسلموا متأخر. انا شيكت على المسلمين و found 9 people still didn't يعني from my group they didn't submit their TMA yet. So باقي ما خلص التسليم، فإن شاء الله بعد ما يخلص التسليم أتوقع بعدها بأسبوع إن شاء الله يعني. Regard your final quiz في already post عن ال quiz but already postponed, so he mentioned it will be on 11 of November but he deferred it. يعني في already كان حاط التاريخ انه يكون في يوم 11 نوفمبر يوم الاربعاء الساعه 6 و 30 minutes وبيغطي tutorial from 1 to 7.
دكتور هذا الاختبار الرسمي تبعنا كان ب11 نوفمبر، أوكي. بعدين الدكتور نزل قال إنه it's gonna be postponed، ولما فتحنا السيستم ما كان أصلا في اختبار، وإلى الآن ما أعطانا متى راح يكون الكويز.
يس فمعناها إنه لسه مأجل، فإذا تبغوا أعرف التاريخ راح أتواصل معه إن شاء الله، أشوف يعني إيش موضوع هذا
إيه دكتورة الله يعافيك، لأنه ترى الاختبارات الفاينل قربت، وفي يعني بدينا إحنا ندرس الفاينلز زي MT والTM، يعني في ضغط، فحبينا إنه نختبر قبل ما تبدأ الفاينلز.
إن شاء الله. بس أنتوا بعد يعني إذا عندكم وقت study from now حق يعني إذا دارسة حق الفاينل already جاهزة للكويز إن شاء الله. إن شاء الله. فحطوا لكم موعد الفاينل ولا باقي؟
إيه نزلوا الجدول.
دكتورة مساء الخير.
أهلا، مساء النور.
يعطيك العافية دكتورة
الله
نورة.
يعافيك
أنا
يا رب.
دكتورة بدي أسألك بالفاينل إكزام في بيكون عنا بارت براكتيكال ولا كله بيبر وورك؟
أنتوا بتصير في الأون كامبس ولا أونلاين؟
هلا إلى الآن عم نقول إنه at campus، بس we don't know، يعني بتعرفي هاي الديسيجنز بياخدوها أحيانا قبل بأسبوع من الامتحانات.
هو على العموم من خبرتي معاهم
إيه.
حتى لو مادة ثانية فيها عملي بالفاينل لو كان في عملي بيكون on paper، يعني بيقولوا لك اكتبي الكود.
أيوة.
ما بيكون يعني على الجهاز وبتسوي البرنامج، ما في.
بس بالايو بيلد يعني هيك بدنا نحفظ بدنا نحفظ البلوكس يعني.
ايه يعني بتحفظ الاشياء اللي دائما بتكون زي مثلا وين فلاج
الداتا والداتا والايفنتس
إيه يعني
أيوة.
ست الاكس بالفاليو كذا
بالفاريبلز وهدول
اللوب يكون الساينتكس حقها كذا، يعني حتى لو كان في عملي بيكون بنفس الطريقة.
أيوة.
دكتورة بس معلش آسفة على المقاطعة، أنا لأنه هذا أول اختبار إلي في البرمجة، فهو الحين كيف طريقة الأسئلة بتكون multiple questions بعدين write algorithm، ولا كيف طريقة الأسئلة أصلا لما تكون ورقية؟
طيب تحبوا نسوي الريفيجن الحين حق الفاينل؟
يا ليت يا دكتورة.
طيب خلوني بس أنزل الموك إكزام حق اللي موجود في السيستم وخلينا نفتحه ونشوف. Okay, just give me a few minutes.
شباب، الدكتورة حضرت ولا باقي؟
أنا الحضور باخذه داونلود الفايل، فأنتوا تحتاجوا بس تدخلوا بأساميكم وبعدين بنزل الملف. بس أبغى أسوي شيرنج. خلوني أسكر بس وأرجع أدخل علشان أسوي لكم شيرنج للبيج. بطلع وبرجع أدخل.
تمام، الله يحفظك. تمام.
طيب، ويلكم باك. خلينا نشوف الفاينل. الفاينل بالنسبة للفاينل طبعا بيغطي كل الميتينجز اللي درسوها. احنا درسنا 12 ميتينج، اوكي؟ فهذه راح تكون الكفرد ماتيريال. الاكسرسايز to practice on OU build included the activities on loop والalgorithms في الebook. included the activities on selection and the ebook. Can you hear me ولا تسمعوني؟
اي نسمعك دكتورة، نسمعك.
ممتاز. طيب، الاكتيفيتيز في السلكشن also اللي هي الاف والelse بلوك، واللوب طبعا we have the three syntax حقت اللوب اللي هي forever و repeat until و repeat. So you have to distinguish between each one of them. There is also some exercise on the slides. يعني كل البراكتيكال سايد اللي اتشرحت في الماتيريال you have to be familiarized with self. And also we have the OU build script activities which include the one on your TMA. Exam structure.
سؤال.
Yes.
طبعا كلها بتكون written، مو practical.
اي كله على الورق.
تمام.
ما في أجهزة وبتشتغلوا عليها.
تمام، الله يطمنك. شكرا.
اوكي. هنا بيكون عندنا we are expecting longer problem. We questions cover meeting 1 to 6 اللي هي كانت specifically focus on OU build. Regard the algorithms وهذا for sure you will have algorithms. الالجوريثمز اللي هي مش البرنامج، الالجوريثمز اللي هي نكتب simple English sentence. فميك شور ان انتم عارفين ايش يعني algorithms، لان كثير بتجيني ايميلات مو عارفين يكتبوا algorithms وهذا مره سهل. فحرام ان انتم تخسروا ماركس على algorithms. ثاني حاجه write an OU build script algorithm اللي هو طالما قال OU build script فهذا معناه يبغى الكود. اوكي. draw flow chart اللي هي بتصير الرسمه حقة البرنامج من البدايه للنهايه. ايش راح يصير؟ لو كان في selection المفروض يطلع سهمين، لو كان في logical test المفروض ترسمي شكل بيضاوي وتقولي هذا عندي زي هنا مثلا الإكس أكبر من 5. فهنا إذا كان true ولا false إيش راح يصير؟ فتحفظوا الشيبس وتحفظوا الدروينج يعني البروجرام من أول ما يبدأ لين ينتهي بشكل رسمة. أوكي. أوكي. هنا بعدين كليك on. خليني أشوف هذه بالنسبة إلى الكونتنت. باقي إن شاء الله الموك إكزام بطلعه وبجي لكم، أنا لسه قاعدة أدور عليه. just give me few minutes. I tried to find the final mock exam, but they didn't upload it yet. But I found the mock exam حق midterm. So I think it will not be يعني different. وإن شاء الله الفاينل I will ask for a copy. وإذا كان في some idea different إن شاء الله I will share it with you.
دكتورة بس معليش على
Yes.
المقاطعة.
تفضل.
الموك هذا الموك اكزام الفاينل نقدر نلقاه بالMS عشان نتمرن عليه أفضل أو أكثر؟
حاليا ما في فاينل موك اكزام، ما حطوه، مو موجود. فأتوقع راح يرفعوه قريبا، يعني على يعني كل ما قرب موعد الامتحان بيحطوه قبلهم. فبيرفعوه بتشوفوه إن شاء الله. حاليا اللي عندي فقط الميد تيرم. الميد تيرم انتم ما امتحنتوا ميد تيرم، امتحنتوا فقط كويزات. فالايديا بالعاده بتكون سيميلر، ما بتكون ديفرنت فيها، بتكون يعني فلو شارت او يو بيلد، وبالاضافه الى الاسئله الثيوريتيكال اللي هي بتعتمد على حفظكم بالدرجه الاولى. فانتظروا من دكتور شيخان انه هو يرفع لنا الملفات ان شاء الله، وراح ارسل له ايميل واذكره بهذا الشيء، ممكن يكون هو يعني ناسي. اوكي. فهنا في عندنا flow chart diagram shows a loop structure. We have a number variable have the value 12. بعدين we will have to check if the number is 0 ولا not 0. So if the number not 0 إذا كان true راح يطبع قيمة النمبر في الويندو، وبعدين move to the next line in the output window، بيروح سطر جديد وبعدين ينقص النمبر 3، وكل مرة بيدخل على الكونديشن هذا. إذا كان false معناته أنه وصل للزيرو، بيطلع بيكتب لي done. فهذا flow chart. الrequirement هنا specify the condition، يبغى الشرط. فالشرط دائما بيكون إذا عندي flow chart بيكون داخل الشكل المعين هذا. فالكونديشن هو not number is 0. اللوب بادي هو الشيء اللي بيتكرر. فايش الشيء اللي بيتكرر كل مره؟ اللي بيكون داخل الريكتانجل هذا اللي هو write out the value لحد decrement the number by 3. And all the instructions that are not in the loop body اللي ما هو في اللوب body بتكون عبارة عن خارج اللوب. اللوب اللي هو السهم اللي طالع وراجع لنفسه. فالجمل اللي خارج اللوب هي عبارة عن write down و set number of to the value 12. اوكي، اللي هي التو سنتنس هذيلي. اوكي، سو هنا اللوب كانت عبارة عن one control اللي هي عبارة عن الوايل، وهذا عبارة عن answer not number is 0، هذا الكونديشن، وهذه عليها درجتين. فننتبه كذلك لتوزيع الدرجات لأنهم بيحطوا لكم إياها هناك. بعدين الريكويرمنت الثاني what is the exact output after these instructions have been executed. نعم.
معليش على المقاطعة ثاني مرة.
لا.
عشان الدرجات كيف بيكون توزيع الدرجات بالمادة بشكل عام؟ يعني الفاينل عليه 50 أعتقد أو 40.
نعم، الفاينل 50 وأعمال السنة والحضور وكلها هذه ب50.
أعمال السنة منها الكوزات
أعمال السنة اللي هي بتكون الكوزات والTMA. الTMA والحضور.
يعني هذه 30 تقريبا، هذه كوزات وأعمال سنة.
أي الTMA لحالة عليه 20.
تمام.
والحضور 5، والكوزات اللي هي بتكون 30 25. في هذه الحالة بتكون لا عمرهم ما نقصوا الTMA 20، والكوزات المفروض تكون مع الحضور من 30. ما أدري كيف توزيعهم، بس كان في بداية المنهج كان في شرح حق الدرجات، مو فاكرة بالضبط الحضور والتوزيع الدرجات exactly كم.
تمام.
بس بالعموم أعمال السنة 50 والفاينل 50.
تمام، شكرا.
عفوا. Here المطلوب الثاني what is the exact output after these instructions have been executed. Don't make a mistake to put only if it's in paper في معناها إنه flexibility to type different possible answers. Some of the mistakes اللي the students do it on quizzes, sometimes it asks only for the final answer. if it's online بيكتبوا كل ال possible answers وبيحسبها خطأ.
هاي أنا دكتورة.
أنا
عملت هيك.
فبتخسروا يعني حتى لو جاوبت الجواب
خسرت علامة بسبب هالموضوع. مزبوط.
والبعض لا، هنا مطلوب إذا في البيبر حطي الإجابات كاملة، حطي كل في كل مرة كم بتصير قيمة النمبر.
أنا يوميها بالامتحان الأونلاين فكرت عم يطلب أول 10 تكرار. هذا اللي خطر لي، ما انتبهت إنه هو بده التنث مش
النهائي، كان يبغى النهائي.
ايه
فننتبه لهالأخطاء هذه يعني. فهنا عندك الانيشال فاليو حق النمبر كانت 12 وكل مرة decrement by 3 يعني ناقص 3 بيكون 9 9 ناقص 3 6 6 ناقص 3 3 3 ناقص 3 0 فهي done بيطلع عند الفولس. بس هذه any mistakes هنا you can see they will deduct half mark يعني half mark بتنجح وبتعلي تقدير، فننتبه لهذه الأخطاء. done ما تنسوا الدان من ضمن الاوتبوت. اوكي الدان اللي هي اخر شيء write done. بعدين في عندنا how many times will the loop body be executed. بتعدوا كم مرة دخل 1 2 3 4 times 4 مرات دخل. الدان خارج اللوب بس من ضمن الاوتبوت، فننتبه لهذه الاشياء. What do you expect to happen if the statement's decrement number by 3 is replaced by an increment number by 2 and y? هنا some of logic answers يقيسوا في مقياس البروجرامينج concepts عندكم. فهنا العكس، يعني بدل ما نسوي decrement كل مرة ب3 لو زدناه كل مرة ب2 إيش راح يصير؟ فطبعا هنا راح تكون عبارة عن infinite loop. ليش راح تكون infinite loop؟ لأن الكونديشن هنا it will be always true.
لأنه ما حيوصل لزيرو أبدا.
ما راح يوصل للزيرو أبدا.
بالعكس حيطلع لفوق.
فهنا بتكون الإجابة هي عبارة عن infinite loop according to condition number will not go to zero لأنها قاعدة تزيد. you have to give some explanation because they said here why. To say only infinite loop is not enough answer. So infinite loop is 1 mark according to the condition will never get to zero. This is also 1 mark. Total 2 marks. بعدين عندنا المطلوب الثاني write algorithms program. هنا قال program to print the square of all numbers from low to high. يبغى مربع السكويرز حق الأرقام من الصغير إلى الكبير. اللو بيكون 1 والهاي 10. فهنا عبارة عن algorithms program. You will make initialize the low بعدين repeat low to high بعدين multiply low by 2 وprint الريزلت. السكوير يعني مضروب الاثنين. اوكي في احد عنده سؤال على هذا؟ تحتاجوا تقرأوه تفهموه.
دكتورة يعني هذا ألغوريثم يعني بكل بساطة باللغة العادية يعني
نعم.
very simple language.
نعم.
إنه أنا كيف فكرت بحل السؤال.
نعم أول شيء راح أعطي initial value إلى اللو بعدين راح أكرر repeat. فهنا تحتاجوا if you need some loop إن to use one of the words indicate loop اللي هي repeat low to high يعني بعيد بمر عليهم من اللو إلى الهاي. كل مرة بضرب اللو ب2 وبطبع الريزلت. بس هذه هي يعني
طيب
عن هنا
دكتورة إذا أنا قلت set low مثلا يعني for 0 مثلا بنبلشها؟ إذا كتبت أنا بدل initialize كتبت set.
لا ما تقولي set. ليش؟ أنت لأن هنا في الست كأنك دخلتي في البروجرامينج، كأنك قاعدة
أيوة.
تقولي اعطي initial value equal to كذا.
أيوة.
فخليكم more general.
أيوة.
إذا كنتوا اندبت أعطيها value ولا لا حطيها، بس يفضل أن to make it general. اوكي زي هنا multiply low by 2 ليش حطها؟ لأن أساساً هو كان asking في الكويستشن يبغى السكوير حق النمبرز من اللو إلى الهاي. و as you see here the distribution of the mark repeat لحالها including اللي هي يعني highlighting loops 4 mark. Each steps with 2 marks. So be careful with what you write.
اوكي طب دكتورة معلش كمان سؤال، لأنه يعني هلا declaration تبع أي variable مش لازم نذكره بالالجوريثم؟
Yes, you can say
I can
declare
يعني
the
I can
variable.
say yes the
declare
variable low
counter variable.
اوكي تمام.
بس انت ما قلتي declare x as counter variable، ما اعطيتي اسم.
فيني يعني low هون it's a variable، ما هي رح تتغير. وهاي is a variable.
ماشي مو مشكلة. ليش؟ لأنه هنا أساساً محطوطة في السؤال low high. بس ما قالوا لك low سميه كذا L H سميه high سميه H، ما عطوا exact name.
أنا I mean إنه to be more specific while writing the algorithm، يعني لا يكون كتير مفصل.
لا الالجوريثمز بالعادة يكون more general.
general
steps. يعني هنا multiply low by high لو كنت بكتبها بالبروجرامينج لانجويج بقول low بعدين بحط علامة equal low ضرب 2.
أيوة فهمت عليك، فهمت.
Okay. Another point I want to highlight regarding the algorithms. ممكن to use different words indicate the same meaning. زي initialize the law. ممكن تقولي rather than initialize the law give a start value for law equal 1. repeat low to high ممكن تقولي repeat مو قادرة أفكر كلمة ثانية غير repeat.
for دكتورة ما فينا نقول for low to high؟
لو قلتي for معناها أنت عارفة كم مرة.
ما هو عاطيني مش من 1 to 10.
هو عاط هو عاط عاطي هنا يبغاها اللو 1 والهاي 10. فلو بتستخدمي for ممكن تقولي repeat 10 times high.
أيوة
اوكي فما بنستخدم لغة البروجرامينج. ننتبه.
دكتورة أقدر أقول بدل repeat loop؟
هنا أنت لوب صايرة ما هي الجوريثم. لوب صايرة كلمة حقت بروجرامينج، فيفضل لو نستخدم كلمة انجلش. فهمتني؟
ايه فهمت عليك دكتورة.
يعني برنت ممكن برنت ريزلت ممكن أقول show the output on screen.
دكتورة ممكن نكتبهم steps، يعني step 1 step 2 step 3 step 4 هيك
ممكن ترقميها ما هي مشكلة.
اوكي.
نروح حق الكويستشن الثالث. الكويستشن الثالث here write the steps needed to find the mean اللي هو average of two numbers A and B and report it in average. So you have two numbers ويبغى الافريج حقهم. Very easy. يبغى الستبس، فكأنه يقول لك write الالجوريثمز. enter the two variables A and B. enter the two variables يعني بيدخل اليوزر two values. بعدين you need a temporary summation مجموعهم. S as follow. خلي ال S equal A plus B. make a temporary summation. ممكن تستغنوا عن S equal A and B as يعني ممكن تقولي get the sum of the two variables. فهنا ممكن الجمل تكون غير بس المعنى واحد.
يعني but إنه it's not يعني wrong إنه to use the mathematical equations يعني بهالطريقة، إنه عادي ممكن تستخدم دكتورة.
هنا لا، هنا ممكن نستخدمها.
إيه
بس try if he said algorithms استخدموا general English multiply add sum
display show print.
استخدموا إيه. إذا ممكن تحطي الماثيماتيكال اوبريشن on the side كسبورتنج. اوكي خلينا نتفق على هذا الشيء. ممكن تحطوا الماثيماتيكال اوبريشن on the side بس ما نستغني عن simple English language.
اوكي.
بعدين calculate الافريج like الافريج equal sum divided by 2 وrepeat report the result to average. في حد عنده question عليه؟ اوكي. Number 4, create a script that find the average value for student grade according to the following. يبغى average student's grade. Right. Create a script. هنا or you build. فهنا like الفولو حاطين لكم الستبات. when green flag clicked بتكتبي نفس الجملة. when green flag clicked. initialize the grade and sum. هنا بتحتاجي تستخدمي الفاريبل. set grade to كذا وset sum to كذا. فأنت هنا you need to memorize the syntax.
Okay.
بعدين you allow for student to enter 5 grades. فهنا loop repeat until grade equal 5.
بيكون دكتورة هون كمان بنذكر اللي هو البرومبت انه اليوزر تو انتر ذا جريدز، ما هيك؟
كأنك تكتبي او بيلد.
ايه او بيلد بهالطريقة انه اليوزر معه الحق انه يفوت هو العلامات.
هو راح يدخل علامات لأن هنا أساساً هو يبغى الافرج حق الفاليو.
مزبوط. ايه
يبقى عندك انيشال نتبع الانستركشن في البروجرام
كأنها ايو بيلد.
لأن هنا قال لك as follow. فهو قال you allow for student to enter 5 grades. فهنا بدخل عندي اللوبز until the grade equal 5. كل مرة enter the grade. الدرجة الأولى دخلت، بعدين الدرجة الثانية دخلت، الدرجة الثالثة دخلت، الدرجة الرابعة دخلت، الدرجة الخامسة دخلت. فهنا أساساً الجريد بتكون عبارة عن list.
أيوة.
بعدين you compute the average and then display المسج. فإذا كان يبغى الافرج we need أساساً السم. we need to define variable sum علشان نبغى السم حق الفاليوز اللي في الجريد list.
Yes.
وبعدين بتحسب الافرج divided on 5 و you will have الافرج.
طب دكتورة مو طالب ليست هو بالسؤال هذا؟
هو ما قال ليست، هو ما قال ليست. هو ما قال ليست، هو قال لك انه بيدخل 5 جريدز. فكيف راح تدخليها؟
كل مرة I change يعني the variable will take the value اللي بفوتها the student. كل مرة بتتغير يعني بتتخزن بالميموري.
لا هنا شوفي حاط لك السم. حط variable sum. فكل مرة اللي بيدخل الجريد sum equal الأولد value حق السم بلس الجريد.
صحيح. يعني كل مرة القيمة القديمة بتتخزن بالقيمة الجديدة. يعني بتاخذها
زائد القيمة الجديدة.
مزبوط.
نعم. مزبوط.
يعني ما في داعي للليست.
ما في لأنه already في عندنا sum وما استخدمناها فيس.
مزبوط.
بعدين if average is greater than 50 هنا في عندنا condition if average خلاص بفهم ان انا المفروض احط if average greater than 50 say you are good student
else you need to study
otherwise say you need to study. فبيكون عبارة عن البروجرام هذه هي زي ما هي. set grade to 0 set sum to 0.
Yes.
We need to find a defined variable called average 0. We have counter. Repeat 5. ask what is the grade. حط الجريد في اللي دخلها في اليوزر إلى الانسر. حط السم equal السم plus the grade و change the count by 1. Okay. بعدين خارج اللوب طبعا هنا بحسب الافريج زي ما قلنا، وبعدين في عندي
نفحص قيمة الافريج.
نعم. بعدين في عندنا اللي هي الأسئلة theoretical، والtheoretical هنا كان ضمنها explanation كلها حفظ طبعا، البروتوتايب بروجرام، المينتننس what does it mean، الالجوريثم. بعدين give one similarity and one difference between string and list، نفس الشيء included في السلايد. بعدين explain and differentiate between information society and network society and knowledge society، نفس الشيء from the slide. وبعدين give two advantage and two disadvantage of online shopping. as we can see here من ال questions divided to two parts. one regard the algorithms, flow charts والsyntax والOU build، و other half of the exam was regard the theoretical part. فانجحوا وخلوني أفرح بنجاحكم أونلاين.
دكتورة حطي لنا أي وخلاص.
أنا لو على ودي أنا أنجحكم كلكم إيه، أحب أشوف الدورة بس
يعني
وراي ناس بيحاسبوني.
دكتور شيخان يعني كل أسبوع بعدين ما بيرحم بالتصحيح أبداً. هو
والله أنا ما لومه، لأنه هو أكيد بعد نفس الشيء يعني follow the instruction، يعني أكيد في
يعطيكم العافية.
وهو يعني ما حد بيحب يشوف يعني ناس حاملين مادة، الكل يحب يشوف الناس بتروح على الليفل اللي بعد.
دكتور الله يخليك، طيب راعينا بالتي ام اي.
التي ام اي انا دائما براعي بالتي ام اي.
ايه والله الله يخليك يا دكتورة، والله تعبنا كثير واحنا عم نشتغل عليه.
ان شاء الله، وكان سهل بعدين حلو 3 questions وايزي.
اخر سؤال شوي كان صعب.
هو اخر سؤال متعب، مرة متعب كان، وفي لخبطة شوية.
ان شاء الله ان شاء الله، don't worry وفكروا في اللي جاي، وبالتوفيق ان شاء الله.
شكرا دكتورة، الله يسعدك.
شكرا لك كثير دكتورة الاسبوع الجاي حناخذ كمان ريفيجن معك.
اعتقد ان احنا خلصنا. اذا كان في اذا نزلوا الفاينل
يا ريت دكتورة، يا ريت نحل مع بعض.
نعم اذا نزلوا الفاينل ان شاء الله بندخل ناخذ ريفيجن ولا يهمكم.
شكرا لك. شكرا.
العفو. في احد عنده سؤال؟ دان
يعطيك العافية دكتورة.
يلا نستودعكم الله، مع السلامة.
باي.